So after about a year of collecting an entire jar full of pennies, quarters, nickels, and dimes, I've amassed quite a bit of money here, and this is like free money, because it's the kind of money that you tuck away in the corner, you just ignore. I can add to it. I got a British £2 piece here, a Canadian dollar. Well, what are we going to spend this on? You got to do something fun with it, right? Well, that's easy. We got this. Let's say that you want to play Thunder Force 6 for your PlayStation 2. Take a look at the back of the packaging and it says, "For Japan only," which is unfortunate if you live in the United States, Europe, South America, or anywhere that doesn't happen to be Japan. That's because these games have region encoding, making them specific to a certain part of the world, which is antiquated in today's global economy. And I hope that someday region encoding is done away with, because Thunder Force 6 is a global brand. Why wouldn't they make this game available so that you can play it in the United States, especially considering most of the text in the game is in English anyway? Well, rather than just giving up here on Classic Game Room, since we wanted to review Thunder Force 6 and play this game very badly, and there's also a lot of other Japanese games out there for the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. We picked up a Japanese PlayStation 2. Get focus on it. Which happens to be the identical game console, more or less, as the American PlayStation 2. Small one. You can see here, they are exactly the same size. Now there's a few differences, and we'll get into that right here as we take a quick look at this thing and review the Japanese PlayStation 2. The slim model, you put the game in there just like you would any video game from the for the United States or anywhere else. There's Thunder Force 6. Take a look at the American one. Ah, look at that. Thunder Force 5. If you combine those two, you get Thunder Force 11. The one major obvious difference between these two consoles is the power supply. Now they both use AC or alternating current power, pioneered by George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla, of course. The PlayStation 2 from Japan uses an internal power supply. The American PS2 uses an external power supply, which I showed off in the PS2 vs. Atari 2600 review. And the external power supply sends DC power into the American PlayStation 2. You can see that there. Now there's a couple different flavors or versions of these things depending on where you live in the world, because we have different power standards in the United States than you do in Europe, for instance. This one is a 100-volt Japanese model, works just fine in the United States. Do your research before you buy one of these to make sure that you're getting the right one. Also, this is an NTSC. Other than the obvious power supply differences, these things are pretty much identical. They use the same video output, and if you already have a pre-existing PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3 cables, they work just fine in here. There's an optical output on both of these and built-in Ethernet. So, there's a slight difference in molding here on the sides. If you look over here, you can see you get a different pattern here on the side of the Japanese PlayStation 2. The front of the units is almost identical. American memory cards work just fine. I have one right here. Plug that in. The Japanese PlayStation 2 came with its own controller, which is identical to the one that came with my American PlayStation 2. No problem there at all. Slightly smoother front here on the Japanese model. The American model continues with the ridges that they used in the American PlayStation 2, the first one. On the side here, pretty similar, slight difference in molding. Japanese PlayStation 2 will run you about the same price as an American PlayStation 2 with increased shipping. This one came from PlayAsia.com, who I recommend. They're always a good place to buy from. It's kind of a shame that we had to buy a Japanese PlayStation 2 because I think all games should be region free. if you find a game in Japan, you should be able to just import it or buy it on eBay and bring it over to wherever you are and play it, but they've made this complicated, and it's kind of a shame, but in any event, that's a Japanese PS2. If you look on the underside of this PlayStation 2, you can see the technical information. This is a NTSC Japanese model SCPH-90000 and AC 100 volt, blah 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 blah. The Japanese PS2 came with instructions. Not surprisingly, they're in Japanese. And well, I can't really read this. Oh, hang on, there's a picture. Evidently, you put discs into the machine using your hand. And there's a number 3. Hang on, I found some more information that's of interest. You use a television with a Japanese PlayStation 2, and you connect it with a line. Now, one of the interesting things about the Japanese PS2 is that you can set the internal menus to be read in English or Japanese. I'm talking about the system menus where you can change the time, set your TV to widescreen, read your memory card. It works with an American memory card just fine, by the way. Now, many of the Japanese games also may have Japanese voice dialogue, but they have English text in the games. And this is dependent on the game, and of course, do your research before you buy anything. There's other ways to play import games on an American PlayStation 2 if you're technically savvy. I'm sure you can figure that out. There's things like mod chips out there. I personally believe that if you're going to be investing in import games, you may as well invest in a brand new PlayStation 2. That way you know you're getting a reliable piece of hardware, and you're getting a warranty, and the comfort that comes with that. That also eliminates the possibility of messing up your PlayStation 2 if you're trying to do something that they did not intend for you to do. It's amazing. It even smells Japanese.